I was going to start explaining the tenses in English language in this episode, and actually I was going to explain the first tense, but I remembered that I had said I will start from the beginning. So I wanted to start with a brief introduction of history of English, which went through 3 periods: Old English, Middle English, and Modern English.
وعلمك ما لم تكن تعلم وكان فضل الله عليك عظيما.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I am Mustafa Abdul Ati Barakat and welcome to a new episode of your program English 1 on your channel Benefits. At first, let me remind you that you should to focus on the language and try to repeat the speech, and don't focus on the Arabic subtitles only, that to get the most benefit and to learn the language quickly. And also I'd like to remind you to subscribe to get everything new and follow step by step. I think that's enough, and let's get started. English language, like most other languages, it has evolved through generations of speakers, undergoing major changes over time. And now we are going to start with its first almost age, Old English. Old English extended from the 5th to 11th century AD, but the story before that began when the Roman invasion began to invade Britain in 42 BC, when Julius Caesar or Kaiser decided to acquire the land of Britain for its fertility. At that time, Roman didn't receive little resistance at first, taking into account the huge difference in the development of weapons and equipments of war between two sides, and they founded many cities, including London, the current capital of England. The Roman rule lasted for 5 centuries, but didn't withstand the attacks of the Germanic tribes. But at the end, the Roman Empire fell in the 5th century AD, leaving the ruling to the Germanic tribes. The German tribes attacked Britain and succeeded in eliminating British king at that time, Harold, to establish Anglo-Saxon rule, which was characterized by many administrative systems and traditions, and they created a new rule. From that point almost begins the Old English age, or what is called at that time Anglo-Saxon. Old English or Anglo-Saxon is the earliest historical form of the English language, which is spoken in England and southern and eastern Scotland in the early Middle Ages. That language came to Britain through Anglo-Saxon settlers in the 5th century, as we mentioned. Old English or Anglo-Saxon remained the dominant language in Britain until the Norman conquest from Normandy on French coast came in 1066 AD with their French language, and from that point almost begins the age of Middle English. That period was almost extended from the 12th to 15th century. In 1066, as we mentioned, Normans invaded Britain from Normandy region, and the ruling class were speaking an old French dialect, influenced by Norwegian, becoming their language for hundreds of years. And of course, in 597 AD, Latin was introduced into Britain and was preferred language of intellectuals and the learned class. So Middle English differed from Old English because of 2 invasions. The first invasion was by people who spoke Germanic language, that were Germanic, and the second invasion was by Normans who used to speak the Old Norman, and at the end they developed a new form of English from that. It is called Anglo-Norman, which added new vocabulary to the language at the time, and from that point we moved to the age of Modern English. That period extended from the late of 16th century until now, and that age was the beginning of the period of power that the British Empire began. And one of the most important reasons for the spread of Modern English is after Britain regained its power, occupied many countries of the world, and left behind the language to speak in it many of the world's population. In 1913, the British Empire extended its power to a population about 458 million of persons. That means about a quarter of the world's population at the time. Of course, that gives us the clear reason for the spread of Modern English, as well as some other political, economic, and scientific reasons. At the end, I would like to make it clear that I didn't adequately cover this subject, but really there are many events that I would like to mention, but I can't because of the time and don't to get bored. But maybe in a subsequent video we will complete or explain this interesting subject in more details. And I think since about 3 videos in English I have been talking about general things, so I think I should to start with a serious explanation of the language. So if Allah wills, wait for me in a video coming in the English learning series, step by step on your program English 1. And finally, don't forget to subscribe, activate bell, like, comment and share, and the most important thing, to share. So thanks a lot and see you later. Assalamu alaikum.